All right, welcome back, everybody. Josh from Purple Outdoors. We got Kevin Cook up there from the Outdoor Pro Shop. How you doing, Kevin?
Good. How are you?
Good. And Kenny's down there talking about putting out a fire before jumping on. We're your house is on fire, man. You okay? All
Yeah, it's
right.
just work, man.
All
Just
right.
work.
And we're lucky tonight. We have Riley Arnold from Domain Outdoor on. It's going to be interesting to talk about seeds and feed and all kinds of areas that way. But well, thank you for coming on tonight, Riley.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having us, and we're excited to chat a little bit about what we got to offer, and hopefully help your listeners out this year, and hopefully into the future as well.
Absolutely. I know here in Ohio, we've got the big Ohio archery opener this weekend. So for everybody getting out there, be safe. Hope your stands are up. Check your safety out and that sort of thing. You've got your bow sighted in and you're ready to rock and roll. Hopefully, some people get on their target buck, a little early and have a good opportunity at that, which most people don't, but sometimes it happens. You get lucky. We've had a really dry, almost month here in Ohio, real lack of rain. And yeah, this crop's got so dry so quick. A lot of farmers are taking all the crops off already. So it's going to be really advantageous for us Ohio hunters headed out to get that corn out of the field. And I think this year you might see some big deer falling pretty early with the fact that those crops are coming off.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
I
need
would
to come
agree with
out.
that for sure. Excuse me. I know one of our owners, Tim. He literally just harvested his a very nice buck off of his property, what, 3 days ago or whatever. The second week of Wisconsin bow season. And there was a cold front that came through, and the deer was in a couple plots that he had set out already. And yeah, he capitalized on it. And it was pretty cool to see him get one right out of the blocks here.
Yeah,
So, and I
absolutely.
agree with you. I think there's going to be a lot more people that are going to see some success early this year versus waiting into getting into November.
Right. Well, you got like, mixture of the beans turn yellow so quick, and usually
Hmm.
deer in Ohio will kind of skirt away from those as soon when they first start turning yellow and then they come back when they're dry. But you got that bean fodder falling off and all those deer going to hammer those fields. And then, of course, Kevin's talking about all the corn up around where you are. Are they harvesting any corn where you're at, Kevin, or is it mostly up still?
A little bit, but like around like the properties we hunt, the corn's still standing, so it makes it tough. Uh, Normally a lot of times the corn still standing into October. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes like we have a 3 day muzzle loader the middle towards the end of October. Sometimes it's still standing then, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
So,
there's
Absolutely.
nothing better than watching a giant buck just step out of nowhere, dead silent from that corn. It's just,
hmm
man, your blood pressure goes up,
I
Yeah,
was
for
hoping for
your
that
sure.
eyes
this
start
weekend.
bugging. Man, that is so
Yeah.
sweet.
I
Yeah.
was hoping for that this weekend. I was hunting the edge of a cornfield, but all I seen was squirrels taking corn cobs off and just annihilate them, trying to carry them away, and the
Oh
corn's
yeah.
bigger than they are.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
yep.
Every once in a while, you'll see like a way off in the cornfield. Last year, I saw a tassel, and it's just going, and
Yeah,
then
you're
just
like, what is
whip it
that?
back, and the
Right.
deer is just beating the crap out of
Yeah,
that. And you're just like, please be a big buck, please be a big buck, and a little
yeah.
spiker steps out. You're like,
Right,
oh,
right.
come on, you're
Uh-huh.
just beating the crap out of that corn stalk. So,
Yep.
Riley, welcome again. But if you can kind of go through Domain Outdoor, what you guys offer as a company, what your products are, and kind of how they're used in the field.
Yeah, so the company started in 2019. I got on board as an independent rep early. Like company started in January. I was on board in August, and doing mostly sales and continued to work into marketing. And then in 2021, took a full-time job with Just Domain, stepped away from being an independent rep for like 12 companies, and then went just with Domain, and I've been with Domain ever since full time. Started off with literally five SKUs, and when I say literally started in the garage and in the basement of Mike Mike's house, it is 100% true. That's literally how we started.
That's cool.
They were jugging seed in Mike's basement and shipping it, and that's pretty much it. And that's how the company started. And then we've expanded. We've added new SKUs every single year as far as seed, and then we expanded into feed products. And then this year, well, I guess 2 years ago, we had liquids. We had Liquid Courage, which is a foliar fertilizer, and Dirty Deeds, which is a humic acid based product. And then this year, we added a liquid calcium or liquid lime product, a liquid urea, and then also a 1818 fertilizer. So it's just a great overall fertilizer for your perennials or your brassica mixes and all that stuff. So this year we expanded a lot in our fertilizer assortment, and we did kind of a mid-year launch on that in July. And it's been our liquids have been in the top 10 SKUs now in that time period since we launched to current day. So we're expecting some really big growth out of those SKUs, and especially helping customers because, instead of carrying, 300 pounds of lime to try and get your pH up half a point or 3/4 of a point, you can apply 2.5 gallons of liquid lime with 15 to 20 gallons of water, and you can get your pH to go up 1 whole point, and it's going to stay there longer, and it's going to change it faster. So just little things like that in our assortment to try and help people that don't have a lot of time, want to save a little bit of money, and want to have the best food plots that they can. And we are now, I feel confident saying, we're almost a one-stop shop for a lot of guys. There's definitely a couple holes in our assortment, but we got a lot to offer. We got guys that plant 200 acres of food plots, and they're running a 9 Series John Deere, and we got a lot of guys that literally are doing less than a 1/4 acre too. So, and we do we do anything and everything in between. And we sell small little jugs all the way up to 4-gallon buckets for guys. And we got a little bit of everything as far as perennials, annuals, mixes, all that stuff for guys. If people want to plant in the spring, we got options. If guys want to plant even literally down south, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, they're just getting started. That's literally, this is go time for them. Whereas in Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, we're pretty much done planting. We're just looking for the fruits of our labor to come out of the ground now, and or making some adjustments and adding some fertilizers and whatnot to really give those plants a boost going into these final couple of weeks where they can still grow before soil temps and air temps really start dropping.
Absolutely. I know our air temps in Ohio, about probably everybody else too, they've been holding high for quite a while this summer. We had a couple of maybe half a week of cool temperatures, but it's been really warm for way past Labor Day. So I know this is going to affect the hunters getting out there. I know it's a little warm for me. Even I didn't have most of my stands up because it's been so hot to put anything out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, with that besides that and time, that's what I'm facing. But yeah. It's been hot. That cold front that just came through. Today, up here in Michigan, it's high of 72, 73, a little light rain, all that. And yesterday it rained most of the day. So it's like this cold front's definitely helping. The deer, I'm sure, are up on their feet more, and they're going to continue to be for months to come now. So,
absolutely. But I think one thing that's pretty amazing is, the number of competing seed companies out there now. There's a lot, there's a lot of different seed companies and application companies out there. We did have one on early, I think it's early this spring. We had one on, got to talk to another company. And I think it's interesting to look at what the different offerings are. You can sometimes get crossovers, sometimes certain companies focus on one type of product versus another. But I think, looking at the diversity of animals hunted out there in the country, it just seems to be like people are really into making their food plot stick out, to get it to grow best it can for their deer, to bring more deer into their field. And I think there's a lot of money in it, apparently, in today's world, because people are interested in that for sure.
I can't count how many times we get customers email, Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, whatever, and they ask us, or they just literally say hey, I'm just getting into this. I'm just getting into food plots. I'm just trying to get, an understanding or getting a bearing on what this is or what I need to do on this small agriculture scale. And that's the thing. Like I said, we literally help people that are experienced people that have been doing it for 40 years, all the way to guys that are literally season one. And we're happy to help them and give them any sort of tools and resources we have. And we're definitely not the smartest bunch of guys, but we're definitely the ones that we're going to share our opinion and what has worked and what hasn't worked, and definitely share our failures, because we do not have perfect food plots every single year. But we're going to share what failures we've had so that other people can learn faster than what we did. We went about it the hard way, and we're trying to help people get there faster and have better results quicker. So yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, there are a lot of great companies out there as far as food plots. And we're definitely the new kids on the block for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at Whitetail Institute, Antler King, Big Time, Big and J. I know Big and J doesn't do food plots, but they do feed, and we do as well. But we're the new kids on the block compared to those companies. I mean, those companies have been around. I mean, heck, Whitetail Institute's been around longer than I've been alive. And sure. That's just the nature of it, and they're the top dog. When you look at any retailer, for the most part, of any size, is going to have Whitetail Institute more or less. So, and they obviously do something right to gain a following and have the customers that they have, and have continued to for literally decades. You know what I mean? So, and what we can do is try and change things up and put people on the edge of their seat or on their toes a little bit, and not be complacent, and try and change the game a little bit from what we've done as far as product offering to how we do business, direct to consumer, and also with our retailers, right. And then also with the packaging and the marketing and stuff like that we do. I think that's kind of what has set us apart over the short amount of time that we've been in the marketplace. So
Kenny, you had something?
Yeah, I was going to say I got to second what he said about his people. I've ATA for probably the last 3 years. I've talked to your guys, and it's not always the same guys there. And no matter which one you talk to, they can give you good advice. They understand, they understand their product and what they're doing. So I've got to give them credit. They've sold me. I've had a hot chip chick plot for 3 years now, and it's my favorite. I mean, hands down, my favorite. It's just it grows. It's good. The deer love it. Planted a big sexy last year and this year, and I got a bombshell I picked up at ATA and planted that, and it's lights out. By the way, I love that bombshell.
Oh,
but
was it pretty damp soil that you planted it in?
The bombshell, yeah. I got a portion of a field. It's right at a 1/4 acre. There's a spring that keeps that piece of that field moist all year, even in the ground. And yeah, my big sexy took a hit because it's the first year that field didn't stay, a different plot didn't stay moist, but it's still there. I still got grain in it, but it this summer hit it. But I'm telling you that bombshell is just awesome. Oh, it is up. The deer are in it every day.
Love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I've never planted. I've got a jug of BS, the no BS, and I've not planted it yet. I just don't know where to put it. I don't know much about that seed. But Riley, before you go there, I wanted to tell you guys, if you look at their seed, I'll challenge you to try to find filler in those jugs, because there's not. It's seed. And when you get a 1/4 acre seed, you get a 1/4 acre seed. You don't get, almost a 1/4 acre and then a bunch of filler to make up the difference. It's seed. So
yeah, no, we appreciate that. I mean, and that's one thing, like I said, I mean, that's our packaging, that's our, our branding, and that's what, like, again, I'm not going to talk ill of other companies, but like, you look at their seed labels versus our seed labels. Our seed labels are literally the size of your cell phone, whereas other companies are the size of almost a postage stamp, it feels like. And it's like, you can read ours. We got nothing to hide. Well, literally, we have, clear jugs. Like, there's nowhere to hide anything in that jug. That's what I tell retailers all the time. I'm like, tell me where to hide something. I can't hide hulls. I can't hide other inert matter. Like there's nothing in there. I got no places to hide it. It's literally stripped down to bare seed and or inoculant coatings that are on there
Agreed.
for a certain reason. That's
Mhm.
it. So
Well, you guys
yeah.
made a good couple points there. I think to reinforce and both you made them, and that is number one. Riley, you mentioned it. If you're a novice into this, which we've all been at some point in time, because that's how life is, right? You don't know what you're doing. You just try something. Figure out. Talk to the guys, figure out what plot of land you're working, and ask them their opinion. But then something's better than nothing. We all know that, right? So give it a shot. Put something that's moderate in your area. See how it does for you. And then number two, I know here in Ohio where I hunt, I'm surrounded by basically nothing other than woods, beans, and corn. Woods, beans, and corn, beans, and corn, and woods, right? So if I've got a nice green plot of, even if I do a bad job with that green plot, it's still a green plot, and it's way different tasting than beans and corn and woods. So you're gonna have deer there anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And that's one thing I think a lot of hunters and food plotters beat themselves up over is like they want to have this
Well, you see the
amazing
package,
food. Yeah,
you
and
see the
they
package, you're
want this
gonna,
amazing food plot with no weeds in it.
yes,
And
you're
I'm
just
just
lush
like
green. Yeah.
I'm like I don't blame you. Everybody wants that, right?
Yeah.
The downside is that 0.01% of us are like Lee Lakowski and have that sort of time and equipment,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
agreed.
it's just not the case. We don't have all those tools and or time at our disposal. And here's the thing: the deer don't care if there's some weeds in the
Right.
food plot. They're gonna find
Yeah.
what's nutritious and what they're interested in. I have 14 head of cattle, and I've just put them. We just started our farm this year, and we put them on 3 acres of pasture that hadn't been touched in 3-4 years. And guess what? They ate it down, and there's still weeds out there. They don't care.
Yeah.
And I bring up cows because they're ruminant animals, just like deer are. They're grazers, and if it wasn't for the fences, the cows would be wandering around just like deer are. You know what I mean? And that's where deer wander around, and they'll eat a oak leaf off a tree just because they can sometimes.
Yeah.
But they're gonna find the green sources of food, and they're gonna eat what they need. They're not like humans where we eat sometimes for pleasure. The deer are gonna eat what they need to survive and thrive. And that's where if you have a variety of food sources, and that's why going to your local elevator and getting turnip seeds is fine, but if you plant turnip seeds and you get turnips, you only have one food source. So if they don't need the turnips and the nutrition that the turnips are offering, they're not going to go there. If you plant a variety of plants, turnips, radish, kale, hybrid brassica, or whatever you might have, then you're gonna get mature rates at different times. You're gonna get deer visiting that plot consistently over a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we came out like with kohlrabi, for example, or I'm sorry, we came out with wingman this year. That kohlrabi bulb is a bulb that grows on top of the ground, and it is tasty and it is nutritious for deer before it frosts, whereas turnips are turned sweet after it frosts.
Sure.
So
Right.
expanding that feeding window, trying to help hunters out with that with that feeding window and expanding that hunting over that plot a little bit more. So
Absolutely.
there's different things you want to do. And like we have talked about, like the deer are going to go after the corn and soybeans. Like there's no question about it. But it's when they need something else, or when those beans and when that corn is gone. If you have food on your property and your neighbor doesn't, guess where they're going to spend the time? They're going to spend more time on your property. And it
Exactly.
doesn't have to be acres. Like I think a lot of people think it has to be acres and acres of food. It doesn't. It needs to be a variety of a quarter acre or a half acre if you can.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
I'm on
Yeah.
22 and a half acres and I've got 3 plots. Two that are a quarter acre and one that's an eighth. And then I'm surrounded by corn. And I'm surrounded by corn on 3 sides. So
yeah.
and I'm telling you, they beat the fire out of it. And I again that bombshell grows and they're in there. They still hit my other two, but I literally see the does in my hot chick more than I do anything else. But that bombshell, they all end up there every day. every day. And they
Yeah.
have, and I planted it early. I mean, early. I planted it like late April, early May.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
yeah, and it's just been growing. Well, I didn't know what my summer and fall was going to look like, so I planted it early. I wanted it out. It's the only one I hadn't tried at the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I'm wishing I would have got Wingman as well, but I didn't. So
Well,
That's cool.
so that's the one thing I always ask people, like, when are you going to hunt? And they'll, they might tell me gun season only, or they might tell me, early October, right? And I'm like, okay, because I get guys in early August, early September, always just freaking out. They're like, I'm out of time. I'm out of time. I'm like, work the math, do the math backwards. If you got 45 days between now and when you're going to hunt, and we think it's going to be a mild fall, you got plenty of time
yeah,
because majority of our mixes are going to mature in 45 days with good weather conditions. Now, you might not get perfect and you might not get giant purple top turnips,
Mm-hmm.
but you can still have a food source for your deer during the time when you want to hunt it. And you can do it Labor Day weekend. Like there's nobody saying you can't do Labor
Right.
Day.
Give it a shot. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
even Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, New York, all the way up to Maine. Like you can easily still get a pretty good food plot in Labor Day weekend, and it could still be successful. Especially hot chick or no BS, or even overhaul. Absolutely, those are great options for kind of that last ditch effort. The one that we really recommend for a last ditch effort is Hall Pass. I mean, that thing's got a little bit of everything in it. That will literally give you a food source 12 months out of the year.
That's a great option for people out there for sure. I know it's great, when you're sitting up in the stand. I remember I put a plot about a half acre out. It's been probably 10 years ago with a property I had, and it had some turnips in it, and it was close to gun season. Matter of fact, I got burned on it because I didn't take my gun out. I took my bow because I was going to be that way. You guys know how it is. I'm taking my bow. I'm taking the bow.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give in. And I was sitting in the stand, and I had the turnips. It was just got a real cold snap, and the target buck I was after, I hadn't seen him. It was a big, real heavy 8 point, and just a big old turd. And he was bed on the side of the hill, and I didn't know it was there. And it had just been through a cold snap, and hands down, guarantee you, like you said, Riley, that deer came up off that hill, went right to the turnips. It's like he knew how sweet they were at that time, and he started hoofing and pawing and trying to get those turnips out. And of course, I watched him at 45. He's at 45 yards. He's bounced around 45, 50. I didn't feel comfortable taking a shot at the time, but at least got to see him and got to know that if I had a gun, I could have harvested him. But I had my bow in my hand, so it's always fun to see those deer because like depending on the time of year and season, after our beans come off, man, you can just see the deer pour into those fields in droves after that bean fodder, the leftovers that are spilled out after the soybeans are harvested, and it's like a mad rush. But it's fun that you have different varieties of feed, and then you can kind of see them browsing through, like you said, Kenny. Like they stay in the beans and corn a lot, but then they know where your spot is, and you'll catch them always browsing through that area.
oh yeah,
Yeah, that's wild.
I'm telling you, that bombshell, it is grown. I keep thinking that it was going to get tall enough that I'd have to mow it down a little bit, but they come and eat it. They kept it down. Still to this day, it's just green and goes, man. It's been my best. Now my hot chick, and I don't know what you recommend, but the hot chick, every year I just go back in and I take my jug, put it in my seeder, and I just seed over the top of it. If anything, I overseed hot chick every year. But like I said, I've been doing it for 3 years, and it just grows. I just love that. It's the easiest, I think, of all of them, and the freaking deer just hit it.
Absolutely. And the thing is there can be literally no maintenance on that plot for $35 for half an acre. You can literally plant food for 3 years
That's
and
awesome.
not touch it. Now
That's awesome.
you've overseeded it, and there's nothing wrong with that. I would
Yeah.
recommend that in many cases. You can literally just let it go, and if the deer keep it mowed down, great. You can come back and mow it and stimulate that clover and that chicory to regrow a little bit also, and or add some fertilizer to it if you need to. But yeah, you can for $35 for a half acre, you can literally just let it go, and you'll probably have food for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
That's
And,
awesome.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean that's only like what 3 bags of corn, and that's
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
on in 2 days.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and the other thing is too is like I think the no one ever mentions this a lot, but the names of your seed mixes are pretty great. Like I think companies are starting to like, hey, let's do this. I thought for a minute Big Sexy is what Kenny's wife called. I didn't know what was going on. I assumed.
Oh, trust me. If you sit back and just look at the names and don't associate them with our brand at all, you're like, we wrote an erotic novel here, didn't we? That's where we're getting all the names.
Yeah,
We're reading our wives'
funny.
erotic novels again.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
no,
great.
I mean we try to have fun with it. We try to toe that line. I think the industry,
Yeah.
our industry, is the right demographic for it. But still they want to be politically correct, and I can understand
I
that
get.
too.
Yeah.
In the history of the company and working for the company, as long as I've only had two people that have ever been like boo-hoo on you guys for doing what you guys do, and I'm just like,
well, you can't make anybody happy in today's world. So you just,
I tell you what, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, because what we've done in a short amount of time has allowed us to get where we are, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished and where we're going. And that's just kind of the nature of it. So it's like if two people don't want to work with us because of that, I'm like, I get it. That's fine.
Can't please everyone.
You can't. Yeah, and I think you try to have a little fun with it. Whatever you're doing, you're working, you're getting out.
I think it's great.
It's cool to have a little fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there's some names that will never see the light of day. Like, never going to see the light of day. Right. But we all had a good laugh over them at some point.
That's on the secret menu apparently. Huh?
It leads to great marketing too. Like the marketing is just
absolutely
out of this world for it. I mean, it's just.
Well, it's the seed companies. Yeah, it's you seed companies that have this marketing like pigeonhole because you guys have the most amazing names for your products. Like, I don't have a Big Sexy Clovis ready. I don't have that out there.
Right.
So, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, we we even had a shop in Michigan do a small little like 20-second commercial with the Top Gun theme song. And they used our Wingman mix that was new this year, and they did it on their own. Like, they didn't ask us or whatever, and they did it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was great. We shared it because I'm like, it was a great video. They did an awesome job with it. So,
and that's also an angle too. It's a marketing angle in today's world. Like you have to do the marketing, like you said, your product bag design, your appeal, your visual appeal, the name, the marketing, it all kind of ties together. I remember there was some company a long time ago. Someone told me a story. They made like this squirrel trap, right? And they called it like a squirrel trap, 2.0 or whatever, and it didn't sell. And then they went back into the marketing. They called it the Squirrelinator 5000, and because they called it the Squirrelinator, they sold like a ton of these things, and just marketing, rename, and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Make it more appealing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Riley,
I mean, that's kind of how we look at it. Everybody prior to us put their more or less, I'm not saying we invented the wheel, but because we definitely didn't, but majority of the companies that were mainstream were putting their products in bags. You know what I mean? Because it takes up less room, it's cheaper, all that stuff. And we decided to put stuff in jugs. It shows up and looks the same on every shelf. They're next to indestructible. Granted, UPS, FedEx, and USPS have found ways to make that not possible, but they, but for the most part, the packaging is somewhat indestructible. And even at the end of the day, like when someone uses our product, they got a cool jug to hang on to. So, cool. I mean, I don't know, for those that don't,
I was gonna say, do you have one on hand? You can show us.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I mean, for those listening, sorry, but this is. This is what they look like. They look the same on the shelf in every retailer. We have a planning guide on the side that's literally going to tell you how, when, and where. And then, like I said, our seed labels are the whole back of the jug. So literally you can actually read what's on there versus, sometimes you read them and you're like, I mean, I'm 35, don't need glasses or anything, and I got pretty good eyesight. And I'm like, I can't even read the seed labels on some of those jugs or some of those bags.
And you guys do you offer a feed and blocks too? I saw some on the website about that.
Yeah, so we offer Bad Habit Attractant and then Recharge Mineral are our two granular products. We got a little bit of time here, so I'll kind of go into it. So like Bad Habit is protein and fat, is a fat-based product, so energy. So that is what people are feeding now all the way into like March. And then in March, they're going to transition into Recharge, which is a mineral that is more focused on your antler growth, but really what's more important, because bucks come from fawns, which from those. So to make sure that the milk production's up, we're trying to get all those deer the minerals that they need coming out of winter, so that then they can have a good fawning season. The fawns can get off to a good start, and then the bucks obviously can continue to recoup those minerals that they lost, and then rebuild those antlers through the summer months, and then going into September when after they shed their velvet. And I think that's one thing I've talked to all the time, like, Riley, we still sell a bunch in the fall. I'm like, but you're not giving the deer the full opportunity that they need by putting down mineral in October, November, December. Like it's just there's not that much benefit to it. So that's something that I really think that people need to understand. And or the other thing I think people need to look at is they need to look at and I'm not saying we're the best. I feel confident that we're up there as far as nutritional value. But it's like when you go to the grocery store and you read the food labels on your food, you need to do the same thing with your deer's food and understand what you're putting out for them. If it's just all sodium or all salt,
right, and
or just a bunch of molasses or just a bunch of whatever else, like that's the biggest thing, is understand what you're putting out there for them and read those food labels. Because that's the thing that I would challenge everybody to do is do that and put us up against anybody out there and see which one you like best, Putting out 50% protein isn't good. Like that's not ideal, because the deer is going to send most of it right out the back end.
Yeah.
So that's something to really look at and understand and educate people on a little bit more. Again, we're not the smartest, but when it comes to stuff like that, we trust other people that are way smarter than us to put together the product what we're trying to achieve, but also we don't cut corners filling it with a bunch of stuff that we don't need.
And those are all great points, Riley. I want to thank you for coming on tonight. Can you tell us the website for Domain real quick?
Yeah, Domain Outdoor. You can catch us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And then what I'll do for you guys is any listeners that listen to this episode, we'll give them a 10% off discount with OPS 10. So if anybody listened to this episode and wants to get gear, seed, feed, fertilizers, whatever, OPS 10, you can get a discount. Always free shipping on the website.
Nice. Well, thank you for coming on tonight, man. Informational talk and a lot of fun as well. So
that was good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Appreciate the time and the opportunity, and hopefully we can do it again.
All right, you guys take care.